Hey everyone, I am Tom Hanks and welcome to my top 5 disappointing cars of the last 20 years. By that, I don't necessarily mean that these cars are generally bad. Rather, they do not meet customers' possible expectations, or in other words, they are not what they seem to be on paper. With that, let's start with number 5. The Morgan Freewheeler. This looks like a small, decently fast, fun to drive sports car, and being a Morgan, you'd expect high quality materials and great build quality. And you would be wrong at almost all of those expectations. First of all, while it is decently fast, like it's 0 to 62 miles an hour in 6 seconds isn't too bad, but once you enter a corner you notice that these skinny front tires don't offer that much grip, and also they are unassisted, which isn't a bad thing in its own right. But then again, you have a steering wheel the size that you normally find on a ship, and it just makes for, in my opinion, a little bit of an awkward driving experience. And the engine is a 2-liter and it's only a 2-cylinder, making 82 horsepower and only 140 newton meters out of 2 liters of capacity. That is just so far behind the competition in these days that you really wish for, a little bit more. And also, while this car does have one skinny rear tire and it obviously can make that oversteer, you wouldn't want to, because once you get it sliding, the rear wheel oftentimes loses road contact and you start bumping around, and it's fun 1 or 2 times, but if you make a habit out of it, it's just very unpleasant. But you can still do worse. Number 4, the BMW X3, the first generation that you see here in particular. Now this is a car with which BMW introduced a new 4-wheel drive system. They call it the X-Drive, and what it does in theory is that it always sends power, or it always sends the most power to the wheels that have the most grip, and that is totally fine on tarmac. But once you enter territory with low levels of grip in general, like say mud, gravel, snow, then what's gonna happen is this: you enter a field of snow, if you will, and then one axle has slightly more grip than the other one. Say the front axle has more grip than the rear axle, so the car sends the power to the front axle, making it spin because all the power goes to only one axle on a loose surface. And then realizing that the car would send the power then to the rear wheels, which would also spin because there's too much power for only the rear wheels, where the rear axle had less grip than the front axle to begin with, and you'd end up with a car that's spinning all 4 wheels, and you actually bought the car for its 4-wheel drive traction. Still, you can still do worse than this. Number 3, Toyota Prius. This was basically the pioneer of hybrid technology. This is the car that was expected to be as economical as it gets. And Toyota advertised it with every single generation, but almost every single time people were disappointed in its economy. It was actually worse than some of its, petrol-only rivals, and it was definitely worse than most of its diesel competitors. And therefore, it just makes it. It just raises the question of, is it actually worth buying a Prius? And in most cases the answer is no. You would be better off just buying a Honda Civic diesel. It would be more economical and it would just generally be better for you than a Toyota Prius, and in most cases also cheaper. Number 2, the Aston Martin Cygnet, or Cygnet, or whatever you pronounce it. In any case, this is a small Aston Martin looking car that isn't an Aston Martin, because underneath the Aston Martin-esque design, which still doesn't really convince me. It is technically speaking a Toyota IQ. So it has Toyota chassis, it's got a Toyota suspension, it may even have a Toyota engine, but it wears the Aston Martin badge and has some relatively great interior. However, Aston Martin thought this car would sell reasonably well because, you know, some people might want a small Aston Martin, you know, a premium small car. But what they seemingly didn't realize is that people buy small cars because small cars are cheap. This, however, is not cheap. With a base price of 38,000 euros in Germany, that makes it pretty much as expensive as a new Ford Mustang GT. You know, you can probably tell which one I would rather have, and that is probably the case for most people with this kind of money anyway. So, it is undesirable for its price tag, and it is not an Aston Martin in any way that you would like it to be one. Number 1, the Bentley Continental Supersports. Now, looking at this car, you would expect this to be a Bentley with great interior and ride comfort, and with the Supersports tag you would expect the added benefit of it being really, really fast and, you know, with very accessible performance. And almost all of those expectations are wrong. While it is a Bentley, for the Supersports what they did is they stripped it out and removed the rear seats, so you can't even hire a chauffeur and sit in the back anymore like you would do with a normal Bentley. Also, it is not nearly as comfortable as the regular Continental, and while it is still more comfortable than most, you know, hardcore supercars, it does not live up to the Bentley expectations. And as far as speed goes, it is a fast car, and it can corner relatively quickly, but you will also lose grip easily despite the four-wheel drive system. And once it does so, it just feels so hard to control because of all the weight. It's like a big pendulum. Once you get it sliding, it's pretty hard to make it swing back, and once it does, it comes back even harder. And generally, the massive weight of this car is what limits this car's performance, and it feels like it. It doesn't feel like a sports car or a super sports car, as if you will, as they would normally try to achieve with this car. So it disappoints in almost every single way that you can think of, other than straight line speed. Let me tell you that much. So thanks for watching, and keep in mind this is my personal top 5. If you disagree, or if you agree with me, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know suggestions about future top 5s that I could do. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time.